Sheila Veerasammy, you have the floor, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Sheila Veerasammy, not Ramsamy.
I think I'll remember.
My husband wouldn't like that. Mr. Speaker, I would like to thank the honorable member to clarify what exemption means and what zero rated mean. But the fact remains that he seems to be placing a lot of trust in the business sector. The honorable member, sir, the honorable member seems to have a lot of faith in the business sector. And we are fully aware of one fact: the business sector is there only to make money. And the business sector, if there are no systems in place to ensure that the business sector fulfill what they are supposed to fulfill, then, sir, at the end of the day, the poor people of this country will have to bear the brunt of that. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the motion tabled in the name of my colleague, Honorable Gail Texiera, calling for the annulment of the value-added tax amendments of schedules number 18 of 2016. I would like to add my voice in calling for all items that were previously zero rated to be reinstated as same. If I remember, sir, when the coalition government took office in 2015, in the first budget, they also added almost 50 items to that list of zero rated. What happened? I am still dumbfounded or confounded. I don't know how to describe my feelings because I really cannot understand what is going on and what is being peddled to this nation, because I simply understand it differently. Sir, this motion seeks to show that passing a law and forcing people to pay 14% VAT on all items will have an unfavorable effect on them and the economy, sir. Mr. Speaker, reducing VAT by 2% has had no benefit or will have no benefit to the citizens of this country. 2 years ago, sir, Guyana was deemed as one of the fastest growing developing third world country in this hemisphere. Presently, with the exception of gold mining sector, the entire economy has contracted. This is the result of poor management. The economy is not generating funds to balance the budget, and yes, the Minister of Finance has to find monies to balance the budget. So the only thing left for him to do is to impose unreasonable taxes on poor people. To keep a campaign promise, the government sought to increase the wages of the public servants. For me, this was commendable, sir. I watched the beaming faces of friends and colleagues whose salaries were increased to $50,000 in 2015. A few months later, I saw even broader smiles when public servants were given 10% increase in salary, and the tax ceiling was increased to $55,000. Sir, low-income workers were able to take home $55,000 a month. The 2017 budget decreased the income tax from 30% to 28% for low-income earners. These measures, if taken in good faith to give a good life to all, would have been commendable. Mr. Speaker, these measures were supposed to improve the standard of living for low-income earners of Guyana. People were supposed to have more extra disposable income to do a few extra things for their families. Let's examine this scenario, and believe me, sir, it is a true story. A young woman I know began to live the dream. A good life beckons. She purchased a refrigerator and a 3-piece suite for her family on hire purchase and used the extra income she received to pay the monthly installments for the items. She happily invited me to see the items she bought. When she heard about the imposition of the 14% VAT on all zero-rated items, this happiness turned to frustration. You see, Mr. Speaker, when this young woman took the steps to improve her living conditions, she did not know that she would have to find 14% of her income to pay for food items, school items, and she has 4 children, sir, telephone, water, and electricity bill. She clearly understands that she's going to be poorer now than she was 1 month ago. She knows that she will not have enough money to cover her family expenses. Oh, I forgot one, sir. She still has the rent to pay for the house she's living in. Mr. Speaker, workers know that the increase in wages was applied to make them feel that they were cared for. But now, they are conscious that all the extra disposable income they received in the last 20 months or so will be taken back in VAT in one way or another, whether it's on these exempted items or not. Sir, it is rather unfair to give with one hand overtly and take it back with the other hand like a thief in the night. Sir, the removal of the zero-rated tax from over 150 items will push single parents, the elderly, students, and low-income earners further back into poverty. What happened to the promise of a good life for all? This covert operation to balance the budget is going to destroy people's lives. Poverty, as I understand it, sir, is people's inability to purchase the things to meet the basic needs for their families. Sir, if it is these very poor economic decisions that have brought the economy to its knees in less than 2 years. Our people have the right to dream. I have the right to dream. Our people have the right to enjoy a good life. The government is not doing anyone a favors. They are in the driving seat. They must ensure that people are paid decent wages and salary so that they can enjoy a decent standard of living, or as you put it, a good life. Mr. Speaker, the value-added tax is like a tidal wave that will be dragging our people into the ocean. And since they are not good swimmers, they won't be able to swim against it. Our people will be drowned, sir. And I really do not fall for all the way in which this taxation is being covered up and put forward to our people. At the end of the day, the real truth is the people who are not earning enough will have to pay the taxes for the basic amenities of life. There are many countries in the world that give incentives to young families to encourage childbirth for population growth. Mr. Speaker, in Guyana, persons are forced to pay 14% in VAT for items for their babies. Are we encouraging population growth, sir? Mr. Speaker, the government took away the $10,000 per child we care program. Instead, 14% VAT has been imposed on school items. This measure will crush the dreams of children because parents may have to decide which child should receive education and which child should not. I hope this is not the idea behind this, sir. The budget has no plans for single parent except the imposition of 14% VAT on food items. Most single parents are women who work for meager salaries in the security services as maids or in the delivery services. Imagine single parent women with 3 to 5 children trying to make ends meet. Can we really understand what this tax measure will do to them? Sir, balancing a $150 million budget is good, but taxing the people is distasteful. I don't know what to think about when I think about the elderly people of this country. This is the most disadvantaged and group in our population, the most disadvantaged group in our population. What has the government done? It removed the subsidy from water and electricity. The elderly has to find money to pay for water and electricity, and now we are telling them they have to pay VAT. Yes, old age pension was increased, But is that increase enough to cushion the imposition of VAT? Is it? The most vulnerable section of our society, whose children are already treating them like discards and has-beens, are now treated worse by these tax measures imposed on them. How are they going to survive, sir? The elderly cannot be taxed, sir. They have already contributed their sweat and blood to this economy, to this country. They deserve to live their last years or the last years of their lives in dignity. If this government really intends to provide this nation with a good life, and if this government is genuine in its promise of a good life for all, it will reinstate all the items that were zero rated so that the poor and the vulnerable will be protected. Don't put them in the hands of the private sector and expect them to not pass on the tax. That will never happen. So that the poor and vulnerable can actually see a glimpse of the good life. Therefore, sir, I join my colleague in calling on the government to reinstate the zero-rated items. Thank you, sir.
I thank the honourable member for her statement.